Ontario, is that in Michigan? At the 34th session of the General Conference of Seventh-day Adventists, Ontario Conference's first president, F.D. Starr, humorously recounted a good friend's confusion over exactly where he was laboring. No, he responded, the work is not in Michigan but in Ontario, Canada. Today, what began as a mission field of the Michigan Conference has grown exponentially from 500 members, 7 churches, 8 companies, and 3 schools 120 years ago to nearly 34,000 members, 131 churches, 27 companies, 17 groups, and 9 schools. As one of the largest and most diverse conferences in North America today, there's no doubt in anyone's mind that no, Ontario is not Michigan.
Ontario Conference's present mandate of making disciples who make disciples traces back to the Great Commission of Matthew 28, and the seeds for Adventism in Ontario were planted on October 22, 1844, a day known as the Great Disappointment. Hiram Edson, a prosperous farmer from western New York, was among those who waited that entire day for Christ to return as predicted by Baptist preacher William Miller. When Christ did not come, Edson spent that whole night weeping. But he had a vision the next day that took him to Revelation 10, verse 11. And he said unto me, you must prophesy again before many peoples and nations and tongues and kings. His decision to hold fast to his faith helped set in motion the development and expansion of the Seventh-day Adventist Church all the way to Ontario, Canada. So convicted were he and emerging Adventist leader Joseph Bates that God had precious jewels in Canada West, as Ontario was then called, that they braved deep snow, bitter cold, ridicule, and opposition. They were determined, no matter what, to share the Sabbath truth and new understandings of the soon coming of Christ.
The work in Ontario progressed one person or small group at a time, and there were Sabbath keepers even before Adventism had reached most of Ontario. By 1899, evangelistic efforts had grown the Adventist population to the point that it needed to be organized. And where did it all begin? A small town in southwestern Ontario.
In 1826, the village of London was founded as part of a British military settlement. Among the first Sabbath-keeping Adventists baptized were Peter Gibson and his wife Elizabeth of London, Ontario. The Adventist Church in London became the first headquarters of Ontario Conference of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, which was organized June 15, 1899 at camp meeting at 235 Piccadilly Street, this very location, with F.D. Starr as its first president. The London Adventist Church was the site of all conference meetings and sessions until 1912, when Ontario Conference moved its headquarters to Oshawa, Ontario.
Following the conference's formal organization, several churches were established one after the other, including the first church building in Ontario in Alboona, Essex County in 1893, and Six Nations Church in Hagersville, Ontario.
Six Nations Seventh-day Adventist Church holds a critical place in the church's history as one of the oldest existing congregations in Ontario, as well as the first church in North America for Indigenous people. In 1897, William Ward Simpson and William Spare teamed up to do evangelistic work at the reservation in Hagersville, Ontario, at the request of Chief Hill, who had learned about the Sabbath from a copy of Bible readings.
In the conference's first 25 years, churches were organized in locations as far-reaching as Ottawa, Kingston, Toronto, Simcoe, St. Catharines, and Windsor. In 1911, after several address changes, the first Toronto Seventh-day Adventist Church settled for a time at Audie Street. The Audie Street Church's basement also housed the Ontario Conference head office. The growth of the Ontario Conference ebbed and flowed in its earlier days. Among other challenges, members faced persecution at the turn of the 19th century due to a provincial Sunday law, and membership took a hit in the first 30 years due to immigration to the United States. Furthermore, the Great Depression depleted resources, leading to reduced staff and the merger of the Ontario and Quebec conferences. However, in the 1940s and 1950s, the Adventist Church in Ontario experienced a revival, and one of the biggest trends boosting the churches and creating the wonderful tapestry of cultures we now enjoy was immigration.
In the early 1960s, Ontario Conference of the Seventh-day Adventist Church successfully established a congregation that would meet the needs of the early wave of immigrants from the Caribbean. It all started with 38 charter members in a rented church on Shaw Street, led by 8 youths from Jamaica, Guyana, and Trinidad, as well as Pastor Rudolph James, Canada's first Black pastor.
Since 1899, Ontario Conference has proven itself to be a trailblazer as reflected in the broad cultural representation, yet maintaining unity in diversity. For instance, today there are 22 different language groups represented in the conference as churches, groups, or companies. Filipino and Hispanic congregations are among those experiencing the most growth in recent years, following immigration trends. Traversing the province, we found amazing examples of God's provision in the north, east, south, and west. Listen to just a few of many such stories in Ontario from our nation's capital.
Ottawa Seventh-day Adventist Church officially opened at its current home, 2200 Benjamin Avenue, in 1975. In 2004, the church embarked upon a building expansion project to better meet the needs of its community, which was completed in November 2005. With savvy financial planning and excellent leadership, as well as contributions from church members, friends, the Ontario Conference of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and the Seventh-day Adventist Church in Canada, Ottawa Church was able to pay off a 25-year mortgage for the building expansion in less than 15 years. In July 2017, with the generous support of Ontario Conference and church members, as well as the engagement of Ottawa Adventist School, Ottawa Church was able to purchase this building at 2190 Benjamin Avenue. This provided a new home for Ottawa Adventist School and the facilities that will allow the church to be a center of influence in the nation's capital. Our present and final conference location is another example of God's provision. As it has evolved, Ontario Conference has shifted locations multiple times, and from 1932 to 1971 was part of a combined Ontario-Quebec conference.
Within this building, you will find a model of unity in diversity, as the staff complement of 49 people comprises nearly 25 different nationalities. Every morning, we worship together and pray for the church's needs across Ontario and for the vital work God has entrusted to us. Among the conference's recent endeavors is increased mission work in the north
facilitated by its acquisition of a Cessna aircraft in partnership with Adventist World Aviation.
Our eagerly anticipated health and wellness center to be constructed on donated land in Marlbank, Ontario, will promote physical, mental, and spiritual health. This site could also serve as a location for future camp meetings.
Furthermore, in 2011, the conference started a new ministry for seniors. This ministry offers oversight of the development of new clubs for seniors across Ontario, publishes a biannual magazine called Highlighting Seniors, and organizes trips to places such as Sight and Sound and the Creation Museum. On November 26, 2016, after 8 years of meeting as a small group, led by Pat Page, her husband Ralph, and Charles Thomas, a new church for the visually impaired was inaugurated with the support of conference administrators and directors. As the first church for the visually impaired in North America, Hope Vision Fellowship is a testament to God's blessings and love.
The conference also holds an annual blind camp at Camp Frenda in beautiful Muskoka, where our thriving ministry also includes summer camps for children and youth and retreats for Adventists and other groups.
In 2010, Ontario Conference became the first conference in Canada to have formal disaster response training. To date, 500 people have been trained and certified. In addition, Ontario Conference is the only conference in Canada with a significant number of pastors trained in suicide prevention, intervention, and postvention.
The conference is also reaching millennials and Gen Zs with events like the recent Earth Day Summit, where leading scientists and theologians shared compelling evidence for the biblical creation account. The event welcomed thousands of guests of various religious backgrounds. Designed to combat millennial views that the church is anti-science, the summit indicated that the conference will continue to be a trendsetter for years to come.
In the near future, Ontario Conference envisions expanding its reach with initiatives including a health summit targeting mental, physical, and spiritual health, a creation museum, and a ministry for the hearing impaired.
We greatly appreciate contributions, vision, and diligence of all our conference presidents, starting with Elder Starr up to Dr. Edward serving his third term. God has worked mightily through these leaders.
We thank you for your prayers in the past, and we need your prayers going forward. We seek your steady support as we press towards finishing God's work in these last days to look forward to the coming of Jesus Christ. So please, let's do it together. Each one doing his part, every disciple making a disciple as we expand the kingdom of God and finish his work. God bless you, and thanks in advance.